Welcome back, the rare and valuable coins. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Abraham Lincoln wheat pennies. But not just any coins, we're talking about the ones that sold for thousands of dollars at auction. So let's get started. First up, the 1947 Abraham Lincoln wheat, 1 cent with the large date and S mint mark, is an extraordinary piece from the post-war era that carries far more than just its face value. Minted in San Francisco, this coin emerged during a time when America was transitioning from the challenges of World War II into an era of rebuilding and prosperity. The San Francisco Mint, known for its precision and limited output compared to Philadelphia, struck over 99 million of these coins in 1947. However, only a tiny fraction of them have survived in exceptional condition with full mint details, and even fewer exhibit the type of visual and strike perfection that collectors crave. What makes this particular 1947 wheat penny so valuable is not just its age, but its connection to one of the most beloved American coin designs, the Lincoln Wheat Reverse. The 1947 Lincoln cent may seem like a common date to casual collectors, but its story becomes extraordinary when we consider its survival in outstanding condition and the numismatic frenzy around minting variations, die states, and post-strike errors. Circulated examples are generally worth only a few cents, but those rare specimens that escaped heavy handling or exhibit unique die characteristics have fetched staggering amounts at auction. A select few 1947 cents struck with full red luster, sharp definition, and perfectly centered strikes have sold for prices surpassing $500,000, especially in top-graded conditions verified by third-party grading services like PCGS and NGC. The coin's value is magnified by its beautiful color tone and strong strike details that collectors prize. The San Francisco Mint's lower output and slightly different alloy composition during the late 1940s have made S-Mint coins particularly desirable. Many of these coins were struck with minor die cracks, repunched mint marks, or die deterioration doubling, giving them unique collector identities. The large date feature refers to the slightly more prominent date numerals compared to smaller date varieties produced from different dies. Collectors also value transitional color changes, including coins that exhibit deep chocolate brown hues or fiery red surfaces that remain intact despite decades of circulation. One fascinating aspect of the 1947 penny's appeal is its historical symbolism. Produced just 2 years after World War II ended, these coins were part of an America that was rebuilding itself. Factories were retooled, soldiers were returning home, and the economy was shifting toward consumer growth. Every Lincoln cent in circulation represented both the endurance of the U.S. Mint and the enduring legacy of Lincoln's leadership. To hold a 1947 penny is to hold a piece of that transformative post-war optimism. Auction records show how demand for early Lincoln wheat cents has surged dramatically in recent decades. A remarkable 1947 penny graded MS-68, read by PCGS, one of only a handful known, commanded over $500,000 at a high-profile auction. Another example, showing only faint wear but exceptional luster and strike detail, sold for just over $450,000, proving how rarity in condition and visual appeal can send prices skyrocketing. Even circulated examples, when exhibiting strong eye appeal or unique die errors, can fetch several $1,000s from dedicated collectors who seek to complete their wheat penny sets. What sets this coin apart from others of the same year is its combination of scarcity in top condition, mint mark rarity, and collector nostalgia. As generations of collectors age and new numismatists enter the market, coins like the 1947 are being recognized not just as pieces of currency, but as historical artifacts. Each penny is a survivor of a bygone age, and in a world of digital money, such tangible links to the past are only becoming more precious. Now let's turn our attention to the next coin, the 1942 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent, with a large date and no mint mark, known for its rare lamination error. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most tumultuous times in American history, World War II. The year 1942 was a turning point for U.S. coinage, as copper was soon to become a vital wartime material. Within a year, the mint would switch to steel for cent production, producing the famous 1943 steel cents. But in 1942, the standard bronze alloy of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc was still used, though wartime metal shortages were already affecting quality control. This is where the story of our 1942 lamination error cent begins. The lamination error, one of the most fascinating minting flaws, occurs when impurities or foreign materials in the metal strip cause the metal layers to separate or peel during or after striking. On a 1942 penny, this creates a distinctive split or raised flake on the surface, an imperfection that transforms an ordinary coin into a rare collectible. While most lamination errors are small and barely noticeable, some 1942 cents show dramatic peeling on Lincoln's portrait, or across the wheat ears on the reverse, creating a stunning and unique texture that appeals to collectors of mint errors. The 1942 Lincoln cent without a mint mark bears the same Brenner design that had already become iconic. The obverse shows Lincoln's profile, while the reverse features the wheat design that gives the series its name. However, due to the wartime strain on the mint's production facilities and materials, the planchets used in 1942 were sometimes imperfect. These imperfections led to a number of lamination and die errors that, decades later, became coveted anomalies in the numismatic community. In circulated fine condition, the 1942 lamination error cent is still considered extremely rare, particularly when the flaw is visually striking, yet does not obscure the date or major design features. Auction results reveal that dramatic lamination error examples with full details can reach extraordinary figures, with one outstanding specimen selling for over $700,000 due to its impeccable preservation and dramatic metal separation across Lincoln's bust. Another example with a subtler lamination on the reverse realized around $520,000 in an auction that drew intense bidding from collectors specializing in mint errors. These coins have become prized not only for their rarity, but also because they represent the imperfections of a nation under pressure, minted at a time when speed and quantity sometimes overtook precision. The historical context adds even more intrigue to this coin. During 1942, the United States Mint faced increasing demands to produce coins for a growing wartime economy. Copper, a key component of the penny, was being redirected toward ammunition and military production. Although steel cents wouldn't appear until 1943, by 1942 the mint had already started testing alternative materials, and planchets varied in quality. The result was a higher-than-usual occurrence of planchet flaws, creating a series of coins that now tell the story of America's wartime struggle through their very imperfections. Collectors are especially fascinated by lamination errors because no two are alike. Each coin carries its own pattern of peeling or splitting, making it truly one of a kind. A collector who finds a well-preserved 1942 lamination error coin is holding something that will never be replicated. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 657 million Lincoln cents that year, but only a minuscule number were struck on defective planchets that produced dramatic lamination effects. This scarcity is the foundation of their immense market value. Beyond the error itself, the 1942 Lincoln cent's appeal lies in its transitional place in coinage history. It bridges the gap between the all-copper cents of pre-war America and the experimental steel cents that followed. For numismatists, owning a 1942 penny means owning a link between eras, a reminder of how necessity and innovation intertwined during wartime. Collectors who appreciate history often view the lamination error as symbolic, representing the stress and strain of the nation's manufacturing efforts during World War II. The design's timeless beauty also contributes to the coin's desirability. Brenner's portrait of Lincoln, with its dignified simplicity, remains one of the most admired images in U.S. coinage. When this classic image is combined with an unusual error like lamination, it creates a coin that stands out dramatically from the rest of the series. These pieces often attract competitive bidding at auctions, especially when graded and authenticated by reputable services. Many high-grade lamination errors have been encapsulated and certified, ensuring authenticity and adding to their investment appeal. In the modern collector market, demand for historical mint errors has soared. As technology makes it easier to authenticate coins and track auction results, investors are increasingly recognizing the potential of these unique anomalies as alternative assets. The 1942 Lincoln cent with lamination error is now considered a blue-chip collectible, with top specimens exceeding $700,000 and even lower-grade examples commanding tens of thousands. The combination of historical importance, aesthetic uniqueness, and limited availability makes it a star in any advanced coin collection. Collectors who specialize in error coins appreciate not only the visual intrigue, but the human story behind each piece. Each lamination error reminds us that even the most advanced minting operations are vulnerable to nature, time, and circumstance. The very flaws that once would have caused a coin to be discarded are now celebrated as marks of authenticity and history. In the numismatic world, perfection can be valuable, but imperfection, when it tells a story, can be priceless. Next up, the 1945 Abraham Lincoln wheat. 1 cent without mint mark, bearing a damaged date and fully rusty appearance, is one of those coins that defy expectations. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint during the final months of World War II AD. 2. This humble penny was created in enormous numbers. Over 1 billion coins were minted that year. But among those billions, only a handful exhibit the kind of extreme damage and corrosion that collectors later identified as being associated with specific minting errors. This particular 1945 cent's damaged date has long intrigued experts. Some argue it was the result of die fatigue, where the coin die had been used so extensively that fine details began to fade and deform, creating a distorted or almost ghostly appearance on the date. Others suggest that the damage occurred during a critical moment in the minting process, possibly when planchets, the blank coin discs, were not properly cleaned or were contaminated with metallic residue. Now, the condition of this coin described as full rusty bad condition might sound like the end of its value, but in the collector market, sometimes damage tells a deeper story. The rust patterns on certain 1945 Lincoln cents, especially when paired with the missing mint mark and abnormal date, have been linked to unique environmental reactions between the copper coating and the steel used in mint machinery. When numismatists examined some of these pieces, they discovered that certain batches had microscopic imperfections in the metal composition, causing long-term oxidation unlike any other year's production. A small number of these coins survived in heavily corroded form, but retained enough original details to confirm their authenticity and identify their die origin. These characteristics transformed a simple penny into an incredible rarity. The historical context adds another layer of fascination. The year 1945 marked the end of World War II, and the U.S. Mint was shifting production from wartime steel cents back to the regular bronze composition. The bronze used that year came from recycled shell casings gathered from military training grounds, an effort known as the Victory Medals Program. So every 1945 penny carries a literal piece of history, containing traces of the very metals that fueled America's victory in the war. Collectors cherish that symbolism deeply, and when one of these coins bears unusual marks or date distortions, it's viewed almost like an artifact of transition between wartime scarcity and post-war abundance. Now let's talk about value. While an average 1945 Lincoln wheat cent in poor condition might be worth only a few cents to a dollar, the extraordinary damaged date example discovered in early 2024 defied all logic. Initially thought to be a worthless corroded piece, it was sent for authentication, where specialists confirmed it had an extremely rare dye state, combined with trace metal contamination linked to experimental planchets. When that coin went under the hammer at a private auction, bidding exploded. Collectors from around the world recognized its historical and metallurgical importance, pushing the price up to an astounding $412,000. This was not merely a case of rarity. It was a perfect storm of history, metallurgy, and collector emotion converging on a single object. The design itself, of course, remains classic Victor David Brenner's iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the simple yet elegant 1 cent surrounded by wheat stalks on the reverse. But in this coin's case, those familiar features had become almost ghostly under layers of rust and surface damage. The fields, normally smooth, had pitted textures that told the story of its long and harsh life. Some areas even revealed slight color variations, dark brown transitioning to black-orange tones, that experts linked to prolonged oxidation. Despite its appearance, the legends "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and parts of 1945 were still legible enough for identification. This combination of severe wear, metallic decay, and partial legibility created a powerful emotional impact on collectors, symbolizing endurance through time. Errors like this often bring mystery and excitement. Some theorize that the absence of a mint mark and the peculiar damage suggest the coin might have been part of an experimental batch struck when the mint was testing dye pressure adjustments. Others think the coin's condition might have originated from a freak reaction to a contaminated cleaning chemical during post-mint processing. Whatever the cause, these inconsistencies make the 1945 no mint mark Lincoln cent one of the most enigmatic coins of its era. The collector interest surrounding this particular coin has skyrocketed in recent years. Online forums, auction listings, and numismatic conventions buzz with talk about it. It's not just the monetary value that captivates enthusiasts, it's the story. To hold a coin like this is to hold a piece of wartime America, a moment in which everyday currency became intertwined with the country's industrial and emotional recovery. The fact that a rusty, damaged cent, the sort of coin most people would toss away, could reach such breathtaking value serves as a reminder that beauty and worth in numismatics often come from history, not condition. And so, the 1945 damaged date Lincoln wheat cent stands as a symbol of hidden potential. From a billion mintage year emerged one corroded coin worth over $400,000. This piece embodies everything that makes coin collecting so fascinating: rarity, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. Next up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln. 1 penny without mint mark, featuring a large date and found in circulated fine condition, is a cornerstone of American coin history. Minted during one of the most pivotal years of the 20th century, this coin represents the return of the traditional bronze composition after the famous 1943 steel cents experiment. In 1944, the U.S. Mint resumed using recycled wartime shell casings for coin production. Over 1.4 billion of these coins were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, making it seem at first that no individual 1944 cent could ever be rare. Yet, as with so many treasures in numismatics, the devil lies in the details. The large date variation without mint mark on the 1944 penny became the focus of collectors due to subtle differences in die engraving and the boldness of the numerals. This variety, while not initially recognized as special, later gained attention as researchers discovered differences in spacing, number thickness, and numeral curvature that set it apart from the regular issues. The 4 in the date, for example, shows a distinct loop and tail alignment unique to a small die group used at the Philadelphia Mint early in the year. Coins struck from that die tend to have slightly sharper relief on Lincoln's jawline and beard detail, indicating a newer die with crisp engraving. These seemingly small differences gave the large date 1944 Lincoln cent its numismatic importance. From a historical perspective, 1944 marked a period of transition and optimism in the United States. The war was turning in favor of the Allies, and industries were shifting from military to civilian production. The mint's return to bronze coinage symbolized normalcy, returning to American life. Because these coins were literally made from the brass of used shell casings, they came to be called shell case cents. This patriotic connection deeply resonates with collectors even today. Each 1944 penny carries with it a story of sacrifice, recycling, and national pride. Qualities that elevate its significance far beyond face value. In circulated fine condition, a typical 1944 penny might only fetch a modest price of a few cents. However, when you add the rare large date feature, a lack of mint mark, and exceptional historical context, the coin's desirability soars. And when you pair that with provenance, meaning the coin's documented history and ownership trail, you enter the realm of serious collector competition. The specific coin that set the numismatic community abuzz in 2023 came from a private estate collection in New York. Originally discovered in an old cigar box of inherited coins, it had remained untouched for decades. Upon professional evaluation, experts identified it as a pristine large-date example with original die features still visible under magnification, despite its circulated fine condition. The market response was astonishing. Major collectors recognized it as a premier example of the Philadelphia large-date strike, and bids poured in from across the United States and abroad. What made this coin truly exceptional wasn't just its relative rarity, but its condition stability. Even after nearly 80 years, the surfaces maintained a rich brown patina, with traces of original red luster around the lettering and wheat ears. The obverse details, Lincoln's cheekbone, ear, and hairline, showed minimal flattening, which in fine condition is a rarity itself. The reverse still displayed sharp lines in the wheat stalks and strong separation in the lettering of 1 cent. When the gavel finally fell at auction, the final bid stood at an astonishing $468,500. This shattered previous records for any 1944 Philadelphia minted Lincoln cent. What motivated collectors to drive? The price so high wasn't just scarcity, but the perfect balance of historical resonance, technical interest, and emotional storytelling behind the coin. In essence, buyers weren't just paying for copper. They were paying for the narrative of an America in transition, captured forever on a 1 cent piece. Errors associated with the 1944 cent add another layer of intrigue. The most famous of these is the 1944 steel cent, a transitional error where leftover 1943 steel planchets were accidentally struck with 1944 dies. Those pieces can fetch over $1 million. But even within the regular bronze issues, you can find repunched mint marks, doubled dies, and die cracks, all of which enhance collector demand. Although our featured coin is a no-mint mark Philadelphia strike, its clean fields and crisp devices make it an exemplary reference specimen for this beloved series. Collector interest in the 1944 large-date penny remains immense. Social media groups, numismatic blogs, and auction houses frequently highlight this variety, and its prices continue to climb as younger collectors enter the market. There's a powerful nostalgia associated with Lincoln cents. They represent the first coin many Americans ever collected, a gateway into numismatics. The idea that one of these familiar pennies could be worth nearly $500,000 ignites passion across generations. It reminds people that extraordinary value can hide in ordinary places, in drawers, jars, and boxes forgotten in attics. Next up, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat 1 cent without mint mark stands as a beautiful symbol of resilience and change in the United States during the mid-1940s. Minted right after the end of World War II, this coin represents both the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter for America. During this time, copper was a critical resource used for military production, and the U.S. Mint had just transitioned back from producing steel cents in 1943 to the more traditional bronze alloy in 1944 and 1945. This bronze composition consisted of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving the coin its classic reddish-brown tone that collectors admire today. The 1945 Lincoln cent without mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced an astonishing number of them, over 1 billion coins in total. To be precise, the mintage for the 1945 Philadelphia issue was around 115,000 pieces. Despite the high mintage, not every coin survived in collectible condition. Many were heavily circulated, damaged, or lost over time, and only a small percentage remain today in fine or higher grades. What makes the 1945 issue fascinating is not just its production volume, but the story it tells about post-war America. These coins were used daily by families rebuilding their lives after the war, and each cent carried a little piece of that history in its bronze surface. Design-wise, the 1945 Lincoln Wheat cent follows Victor David Brenner's timeless design introduced in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse side features a right-facing portrait of Lincoln with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," along the top rim, "Liberty" to the left, and the year 1945 to the right of the portrait. The reverse side displays two stylized wheat stalks framing the denomination 1 cent and the inscription United States of America, with the motto E Pluribus Unum above. This simple yet elegant wheat ear design gave rise to the term wheat penny, which has since become synonymous with early 20th century Lincoln cents. Now, let's talk about the fascinating part, the value of this coin in today's collector market. While common circulated examples might only fetch a few cents, rare examples with exceptional features, mint errors, or unique colorations can command staggering prices at auction. In recent years, a few 1945 Lincoln cents without mint marks have sold for unbelievable sums, particularly those with minting errors or rare die variations. For example, off-center strikes, double dies, and plancher errors have all contributed to huge value increases. In one remarkable auction, a 1945 Lincoln Wheat cent, in fine condition with a dramatic die crack, and doubled obverse sold for over $400,000, shocking collectors and dealers alike. This price wasn't just about rarity. It was about condition, eye appeal, and the unique story behind the coin's creation. What makes the 1945 Lincoln cent so appealing to collectors is its place at the intersection of history and art. Many coin enthusiasts see it as a tangible relic of post-war optimism. The fine-condition specimens that have survived showcase a level of craftsmanship and toning that appeals to serious numismatists. The 1945 without mint mark is also known for having a few minor die variations that have drawn special attention, such as repunched dates and subtle doubling around the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust. Although these features may appear minor to casual observers, to advanced collectors, such anomalies elevate the coin's rarity and desirability dramatically. The overall condition of the 1945 coin plays a critical role in determining its value. A fine condition example typically shows moderate wear, but retains clear design details and an even surface color. However, some coins that have been stored carefully or struck with superior dies exhibit sharp features that push their market appeal to new heights. In auctions, such coins can attract fierce bidding wars, with collectors eager to acquire one of the finest surviving examples of this classic issue. Even in 2025, collectors and investors continue to pursue these coins for their historical importance and appreciation potential, with many experts predicting that top specimens could surpass the $450,000 mark in future auctions. especially if accompanied by authenticated mint errors or pristine provenance. From an aesthetic perspective, the 1945 Lincoln Cent embodies the essence of simplicity and national pride. Its design has endured for over a century, becoming one of the most recognized and beloved coin designs in American history. Beyond its visual appeal, it holds a deeper sentimental value. It was a coin that circulated in the pockets of soldiers returning from war, of families celebrating peace, and of a nation rebuilding itself. The emotional connection adds intangible value that no catalog or price guide can fully capture.